Just because this property is a great bedding property doesn't mean you can't draw them in with a food plot of your own.
Here's a tip that will help you better scout land that you're prospectively buying, especially if it's out of state or out of county. If it's near your home, it's a lot easier. You can go out there probably several times and walk it. But if you're looking at something that's a little bit farther, it's going to require a longer drive. Yes, our apps are awesome. If you look at a Hunt Stand app, you can really see the topography, especially with these high-res photos that they have these days. But nothing beats boots on the ground. Try to get in there early in spring before you're buying and ask if you can turkey hunt.
So a lot of times when you're looking for a property, you can get people to let you turkey hunt on it if you're looking to buy. And you can learn so much about a property by turkey hunting. That's what I really like doing, because you learn the little nuances that you're not going to get from a map, you're not going to get from an app. Boots on the ground is how you learn it. And then, yeah, you learn how to turkey hunt it, but you learn where the deer trails are, where the bedding areas are, where the neighbors are, and it gives you a much better perspective on that property, what it holds for everything.
So as a representative of Deer and Deer Hunting TV, I get a chance to travel the country and I get a chance to look at properties. This past spring, a great example. I'm down in Illinois. I'm a guest of Federal Ammunition and Performance Outdoors. I'm hunting in an area that is known for deer, but it's a little bit off the beaten trail. Tell you what, they have some great deer down here, but they also have good turkey hunting. And as a potential land buyer, that's something you're going to want to look at. We started off in some predetermined blinds, hunted there, heard the turkeys. Okay, so we're doing both ends here, right? We're hunting, we're having fun. And then the turkeys weren't quite cooperating on those predetermined spots. So we're gonna go out and do some run and gunning. Let me tell you, you start going through a property that in your mind, I've been looking at that phone, looking at those maps for days, and now I'm going through a little bit of a swamp, some creeks, some cover, some hardwoods. It's a lot different than I thought it was. You get a turkey to gobble, and you probably, in your mind, you think, oh, he's going to step out in this logging room. It didn't happen that way. This turkey shows up, he's within spitting distance of me, but he's right behind me. And as turkeys do, especially mature toms, he knew exactly where he was going. He knew exactly where that sound was coming from. I couldn't get around it on him fast enough, or I should say I didn't even try, because I knew he was going to spook. So I did not get a chance to shoot at this turkey, but just in that little snapshot of time, a couple hours, I got to learn this property, especially a quarter of the property, exactly what it held.
Deer and Deer Hunting Properties is brought to you by Spy Point Trail Cameras. Deer and Deer Hunting Properties is brought to you by the all-new Feed Hub by Moultrie Mobile.
I'm the buyer, and I know the realtor's always working for the seller. I get that. I've been through that a million times, or 4 times now. And it's like I always feel like the redheaded stepchild. Well, I'm the buyer. Yeah, I know, but you're not the seller. A couple of things that I wrote down here. You're working, well, number one, why should I work with a realtor? I know what I want. I know what kind of hunting property I want. I can easily Google it and go to realtor.com. Why should I be working with a real estate agent?
Well, I think when it comes to hunting land, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of realtors, unfortunately, that have never hunted, have never stepped on a hunting property, and have no idea. And so I would highly recommend finding a realtor that is a professional in the hunting world, because they're going to be able to probably give you some good tips, maybe some ideas that you weren't thinking of. So that part's really important. The biggest thing why you would hire a real estate agent in general is just for obviously to protect you guys, right? We carry errors and omissions insurance. We do contracts all the time, every day, all day. So we can make sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed to make sure that you're protected and there's not something in there. I have come in halfway through where somebody's like, hey, I bought this property and now I think I might be screwed. Like, I'm not sure what's going on, but he's tells me I could back out. I'm like, well, how, what did you guys fill out? Well, we just kind of bought some piece of paper offline. And I'm like, well, did you have a real estate agent look over, an attorney? No. I'm like, well, you're going to need one now. You're going to need to probably hire an attorney if you want to try to get through this. But there's some horror stories if you don't. So hiring a real estate agent will not only help you on the paperwork side of things, cover your best interests and make sure everybody's protected, the buyer and the seller, which can occur. At the end of the day, the seller wants to sell it, buyer wants to buy it. I'm here to make sure that happens for both of you, right? I'm not here to make sure there's, animosity or fighting. Like, hey, you want to sell this and they want to buy it? Let's come up with a common denominator that makes sense for everybody, right? So, but having somebody that is really specific in that hunting world, I think is really important, because some agents will look up a property and they say, hey, this is worth $3,000 an acre. But they've never stepped on the property. They don't understand the differences of the type of property. And I've seen buyers pay way too much for a property, Dan, because they didn't have an experienced agent in the hunting world. And when you have somebody experienced in the hunting world, they're going to say, hey, this is not worth the $3,000 an acre. This is worth $2,000 an acre or $5,000 an acre.
And you're going to be able to tell them why.
Right. Either get them a better deal or save them some money from making a mistake.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. The other thing that I agree with you on any real estate transaction, I did it. The first house that I had that I sold, I actually hired a realtor, even though I had the buyer already lined up.
Yep.
Because it's like, a lot of people now, like I said, if you can do it yourself, more power to you. A lot of people try to sell it. There's so much stuff involved and paperwork and things that are like, the state requires you to file that I would have no clue over. So it cost me, I think, well, this is going back quite a few years. It cost me, I think, $1,000.
Right.
So it was like, I just went to that realtor. I said, it was a friend who actually worked for a bigger real estate company. And I said, I just need you to facilitate that. So even in those cases, like you said, even if you lined up something with an individual party, you got to cover yourself. It's kind of like buying a car off the lawn. You have no clue.
Oh, absolutely.
Or you could go get a certified GM car. I'm not promoting GM. I'm just saying you could go get a certified and actually get a warranty with it. It's kind of very similar concept.
Oh, for sure. Like, in I know we're talking on the buyer side, but on the seller side, I mean, I list my own personal property. When I sell it, I list it. It's a fact that you'll get, I think it's like 6 to 8% more for your property if you list it with a realtor and you put it out on the Realtors Association, the MLS. It gets out to a bunch of websites that only realtors can use. I could get a much bigger audience. I list my own property. Yes, I have my own buyers. I have a lot of buyers, but sometimes they're not willing to pay as much as somebody else's buyer. I'm all for it. At the end of the day, my bottom line was higher, and I was happy because everybody's covered under it. It's like you said about the car. I can either put my car out on the end of my driveway, and I'm only going to get the buyers that drive by it. Or I could put it out on the internet and all these different websites, and I'm going to have a much bigger audience.
I just sold a snowblower that way. My brother, Tony, who's listening, he thought he was only going to get $300 for a snowblower. I said, no, I'm going to put it on Facebook Marketplace.
Yes.
And we actually got more than what it actually was worth. So all these things are going through my mind. I'm like, great property, awesome timber. I still want to kill a turkey. So I'm pulling double duty here. I'm investigating this property as far as a hunting perspective, and I'm having fun turkey hunting. missed an opportunity on that gobbler. In hindsight, I probably should have had them. But I told David, I said, let's circle around. There's plenty more property here for us to discover. And we kind of went through this, it was a hardwood ridge, very impressive, a lot of mature trees in there. Another thing that I would suggest is if you're out there looking, don't only look at what is the wildlife potential, what is the timber potential, and then build that into your contract when you want to buy. I'm going to put that into an offer. If I'm buying this land, none of those trees get touched before we close. So all these things are going through my mind. I'm like, great property, awesome timber, I still want to kill a turkey. So we get down to the end of this, it kind of tapers off. It's a hardwood ridge, it tapers off, and there's a farm field down in there. Lo and behold, a big semi truck of some sort comes rumbling along on the road about a quarter mile away. Turkey shock gobbles. Dear Lord, thank you for this wonderful day. Thank you for this wonderful gift, these wonderful blessings. Through Jesus' name I pray, amen. Boy, that's fun. You know, when you have an opportunity to scout a property before you buy it by turkey hunting it, we've been out here for 2 full days. We've walked just about every inch of this property, and it's given me a really good idea of what it's going to hold for deer, and the bedding areas and the travel corridors, beautiful food plots. And then the bonus is you get to turkey hunt, you know that you're getting a good property, especially if it has good turkey population on it. So I shot a nice Jake. I'm gonna call it a super Jake, but I'm not gonna preface it any more than it was a great experience, a blessed moment, great time in camp, and a really good opportunity to learn some new hunting land.
Today let's talk about scouting trail cameras, especially cell cameras. If you put all the time and effort into a property, be it yourself, be it your lease, you planted the food plots, hung the tree stand, you owe it yourself to scout this thing properly. If you're not familiar with SpyPoint, they're one of the first to really adapt to that cell technology. And this is the Flex Plus, which is really cool. The Plus, I don't know if it stands for this, but it has double the battery capacity. If you're not using cell cameras, you should be, first off, because the amount of intel you can get. A lot of them have the option, or this one does have the option where you can run it where it'll send you a batch of photos, or you can use it as a constant capture, which doesn't sound really important until you're out there in the woods. So just envision yourself out there hunting in November. I'm across on the other side of my farm. I get a picture immediately from a constant capture of a deer moving in a particular area. If I'm on my own farm, I probably know where that deer is going to end up. I could quickly crawl around, do a back end, and get in position to possibly harvest that deer if it's a target animal. I think that gives you an absolute huge advantage. Cell cameras overall are cool in that you don't have to wait for your photos. So literally, you know, even if you do the batch, you get to see them instantly, and it's kind of fun to monitor the deer. This one does it all. It's a cell, it'll capture, it'll run video, it'll run regular trail camera images, or you can use it as time-lapse. Time-lapse, again, if you're using it more of a scouting, is great for those big destination food plots of 5-6 acres, because now a deer doesn't have to be 10 feet in front of that camera to trigger it. It's going to trigger it, you know, automatically at a set time, and you can have the field full of deer and you can monitor that activity. If you're not using a trail camera, especially SpyPoint and the cell technology they have, you're missing the opportunity that's going to give you the advantage of killing a big whitetail come fall. The SpyPoint, the cell technology, is going to allow you to do it no matter if you're using it for video, still shot, or time lapse. This is going to give you that observation with you not being there that you're going to need to hunt it successfully.